So the third holy grail of taboos in American politics, you have socialism, you have Islam, and then you have Palestine. And you are really going for the trifecta.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Tell me, why is Palestine a part of your politics?
When you grow up as someone, especially in the third world, you have a very different understanding of the Palestinian struggle.
This is a city not of socialism.
No.
I've been to socialist countries. This is a city where you could come as a dishwasher and you can own a chain of restaurants. This is a city where you can be a cab driver and then become a doctor. This is a city where you could go from homelessness to building housing. This is a city where you could be a young person who's dyslexic, a young person who was rejected, and eventually to be elected to be the mayor of the city of New York. This is the type of city we're in. This is not a city where you use idealism to state you're giving everything to everyone for free. There's no dignity in someone giving you everything for free. There's dignity in giving you a job so you can provide for your family and the opportunities that you deserve. So this is not a city of handouts. This is a city of hands up. We're going to lift up the city of New York. And so I'm asking you, New Yorkers, to continue to stand with me as we move this city in the right direction. I'm ready to be your mayor again.
The Don Lemon Channel, Lemon Nation on the scene. Something is happening here at City Hall today. And we got some folks out here. How are you? Why are you here?
I'm here to see Eric Adams.
Yes, you support him?
Yes.
Yes? What about you, ma'am?
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Why are you here?
Because he's a man of God, and that's what lured me in. Yes, and I'm here to support him. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Let's go talk to some other people. Hi, guys. How are you? Why are you guys here today?
To support Mayor Adams, of course. Oh, yes. And to see you. Look at that.
Listen, I just saw you last night. I am a movie producer, and of course, as a woman down here from the Caribbean, I'm excited, and I know Mr. Adams for about 10 years.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to react to the radical socialist that is running for New York City mayor as the Democrat Party nominee, Zohran Mamdani, who is going to get confronted by Christian Welker, the host of Meet the Press, on his racist policies and also on other policies as well, too, that a lot of business leaders are panicking about, right? You have a whole lot of people that are saying if this guy is elected, that they're moving, right? That they're leaving the city, they're evacuating New York City, and they're going to better places, right? Like Florida, for example, or the South, okay? And yeah, there is a lot of panic. There's full-blown panic over the possibility of this guy winning. And again, one of the reasons why is because his policies of cuckoo for Cocoa Puff, insane. And again, I think some of the most radical portions of his policy, again, have to do with taxing people based off their race, okay? And he's going to get confronted on this, and he's going to double and triple down on his Looney Tunes policies in this interview. And I think this is a representation of exactly what the party, the Democrat Party, the base of Democrat Party wants, right? That is a turnoff to sane people in this country. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
Okay, well, of course, the big question is, how are you going to pay for it? You've proposed increasing taxes on wealthier New Yorkers. The Democratic governor, though, of your state, Kathy Hochul, says she's not going to support increasing taxes in order to get it across the finish line. I want to let you take a listen to a little bit of what she had to say recently and respond on the other side. Here she is.
I'm not raising taxes on people at a time when affordability is the big issue. I'm actually cutting middle-class taxes.
Even on the wealthy.
I don't want to lose any more people to go to Palm Beach. We've lost enough.
How are you going to raise taxes if you can't get Democrats to support it?
So I think what we've shown over the last 8 months is our ability to take that which is considered a non-starter and make it seem inevitable. We've shown that with this campaign, and ultimately we're seeing that our vision to tax the top 1% of New Yorkers, these are New Yorkers who make $1 million a year or more, and our proposal is to just tax them by 2% additional, is something that has broad support and will continue to increase that support over the next few months and years.
So you think you're going to be able to twist Governor Hochul's arm and get her to support raising taxes? I mean, what about the fact that she says she's concerned New Yorkers might leave? They might go to Florida.
I think it's time for a leadership that doesn't twist arms, but rather builds partnership. And I'm looking forward to having that with the governor, because ultimately my policies, my vision, it's driven by an assessment of what's actually happening. The Fiscal Policy Institute found that the top 1% of New Yorkers leave at 1/4 the rate of other income groups. And when they do leave, it's actually to other states considered high tax, New Jersey, California. So it's not fiscal policy, it's quality of life. And ultimately, the reason I want to increase these taxes on the top 1%, the most profitable corporations, is to increase quality of life for everyone, including those who are going to be taxed.
Here's how the Washington...
Imagine thinking that taxes in New York are not high enough, right? I mean, I get the whole, oh, well, let's, tax the rich and get the money to the poor thing. But you're already taxing the rich. I mean, let's be real. I mean, this is not me saying, oh, boo-hoo for the rich, because that's the way that the socialists like to frame this, right? They like to frame it as, well, you're just, crying on behalf of the rich. No, I'm not crying on behalf of the rich, but I think that it really says something when it's never, hey, you know what? Let's work with the budget that we got, right? We already collect billions in taxes. We already tax the rich. Maybe we should focus on how we spend the money that we already have instead of taxing more. Let's figure out how to spend the money that we already have more efficiently and to get the outcomes that we're looking for. Okay. But again, for whatever reason, socialists really don't understand this concept. The only thing they understand is tax and spend, tax and spend, tax and spend. Okay. And what they don't really get is that when these socialists tax and spend, they tend to waste the money on things like, for example, illegal immigrants. They say that they're going to fight the homeless, right? But we've seen how that works out in California. We've seen them spend billions, tens of billions of dollars, okay, fighting the homeless in California only for homelessness to get worse, right? It's a complete and total disaster, right? They spend billions of dollars on these green energy projects that never get built. They never go anywhere because the environmentalists sue in order to stop the building of the project. So again, it sounds great, but the execution is never what these people promise. It's never what these people promise. And this is why they appeal to young people, right? Socialism is something that appeals to young people because young people are naive. They lack life experience. They don't really understand how things work. They don't understand capitalism because, again, a lot of them spend more time learning about socialism and communism, reading about Marx in college. Actually, I know this for a fact because in college, I read a lot more about Marx in communism than I did about capitalism. They spend more time reading about that and learning about that than they do about capitalism. And again, this is why when they get in the real world and they actually start to learn about how things work, they tend to not support socialism anymore, right? The older that they get, the more taxes they pay. They say, hey, you know what? I think I'm good on this, right? I think I'm good on socialism. So, it's just one of those things where I think that guys like this, they're con men, right? They're appealing to people who are ignorant, who, again, lack the life experience to be able to see through these false promises that this dude is making that, again, sound good on paper, but in reality, the execution is never what these people claim that it will be.
Post editorial board wrote about your proposals. They say a massive minimum wage would depress low-skilled employment. His rent freeze would reduce the housing supply and decrease its quality. Cutting bus fares would leave a transit funding hole that, unless somehow filled, would erode service. Meanwhile, the grocery business operates on thin margins, and his plan for city-run stores would probably lead to fewer options, poor service, and shortages. Mr. Mamdani, are your proposals going to hurt the very people you're trying to help?
Not at all. There have been many in editorial board who have had concerns, and what we've shown is that more than 400,000 New Yorkers are excited about this vision. And the reason they're excited about it is one that is in line with the scale of the crisis in this city. I mean, we are talking about our tax base growing smaller and smaller each day, with New Yorkers leaving to New Jersey, to Pennsylvania, to Connecticut. If we do not meet this moment, we will lose this city. And our proposals are ones that are thought out. They are ones that are also clearly going to be funded by these revenue streams. I'll give you an example. When we talk about grocery stores, I've put forward a proposal for a pilot of one grocery store in each borough. These are 5 grocery stores that would cost $60 million in a city budget of more than $113 billion. And ultimately, the reason that we are so excited by them is we've seen that they've worked in Kansas, We've seen that when a feasibility study was done in Chicago, it was shown to be something that was not only feasible, but pressing and urgent in an urban setting. And finally, it cost less than half of what the city's already set to spend on subsidizing corporate supermarkets without any guarantee of cheaper prices, any guarantee of collective bargaining agreements, or that they accept SNAP or WIC.
Well,
yeah, so again, this is where the con man comes in, right? Because if you listen to this dude talk, you would think that, oh, this was tried in Kansas and it's already worked in Kansas, right? That this is what you would believe listening to the guy, but that's not actually what's happening in Kansas, right? What he's talking about is a public-private partnership in which, yes, you have the government subsidizing these grocery stores, but that's different than government-owned, right? He's talking about government-owned grocery stores, right? Which is different than government-supported grocery stores, right? Those are two different things. New York City already has government supported grocery stores, right? It's called the Fresh program, which is intended to do exactly what this dude is claiming that his government-owned grocery stores intend to do. And again, how do you appeal to people when you already have New York City implementing an idea to solve the problem that he's trying to solve? Well, how do you appeal to people, right? Well, you just go further left. You say, well, that's not enough. It's not enough to have corporate socialism, right? It's not enough to subsidize the grocery stores, right, with government money. No, we just need the stores to be government owned, right? And it's just an experiment. It's just an experiment. You don't understand, right? We're just going to, open up a few government owned grocery stores and it's only going to cost this much, right? As if that's actually how it's going to work out, right? It never actually works out the way they claim it's going to work out. But I want people to understand that what he's talking about in Kansas is not the same thing that he is proposing in New York City. They already have programs in New York City to do what this guy claims that he wants the government grocery stores to do. And if you need any evidence and proof that the government politicians, the bureaucrats, specifically in New York City, do not have the ability to run a business, okay, just look at the MTA, okay, and the disaster that the MTA has been. That tells you everything you need to know about New York City's ability to have government-owned businesses and to run them well, okay, to have them do the things that they promise they're going to do on, an actual affordable budget, right? It never works out the way these people claim. Never.
Take me to my next question about grocery stores. Some executives, including one of the top grocery stores owners, billionaires, threatening to shut down his supermarket in the city. John Catsimatidis, who runs Gristedes grocery chain, you're probably very familiar with him. He said this on Election Day, quote, "If the city of New York is going socialist, I will definitely close or sell or move or franchise the Gristedes locations." In order to run New York City successfully as mayor, do you not need the support of a billionaire businessman like John Catsimatidis?
I don't know if I need his support specifically, but I want to make clear that my vision for this city is a vision for every single New Yorker, including business leaders across the city. And the reason I say that is that my proposals, even the ones to increase the top corporate tax rate of New York to match that of New Jersey, are ones that would also benefit those business leaders. Because when I have conversations with them, what I also hear is the just how expensive this city is preventing them from attracting and retaining the talent they need to grow their business. And ultimately, I'm looking forward to having those meetings, having those sit-downs to make clear why this vision would benefit all.
Well, again, the city is expensive because it's overly regulated and overly taxed, right? That's why it's expensive, okay? That's the problem. The problem is that these far-left policies that Democrats do embrace is why the city is more expensive than it should be, right? If you roll back the regulation, if you lower taxes, okay, if you stop spending money on these stupid projects that don't provide a positive return on investment, if you actually, start to use the money efficiently, then yeah, you will see prices go down. But again, as long as you have overregulation, like for example, when you talk about rent, okay, the overregulation of the rental market in New York City is part of the reason why there's a housing shortage, right? It's part of the reason why they lack affordable housing. Well, the reason why is because when you have these rent stabilized affordable housing units, a lot of landlords can't make that much money off of them, right? Because they can't really make money off of them, then they don't have an incentive to maintain them, and developers don't have an incentive to build new units, okay? It is much more profitable to build a luxury unit, okay? And this is why you have more luxury building in New York City than you do affordable, low-cost housing, right? Which because the regulations in New York City disincentivize developers from actually building these affordable units because you can't really make money off of it, right? If you can't make money off of it, then people are not going to build it, okay? And it's not because there's not demand for it. There is demand for it. It's just that there's a supply shortage due to the fact that developers and landlords just don't want to offer these units to the market due to the fact that, again, it's not possible to make a profit. And ultimately today, when you can't make profit, then you're going to be lacking in supply, right? That's what tends to happen. So again, if you could make these affordable units more profitable, okay, if you could actually loosen up regulations to allow for cheaper building, to allow some of these landlords to actually make money from these affordable units, then you're going to see an increase in the supply. But again, he's not proposing stuff like that. Okay, that doesn't sound all glamorous as, well, let's tax the rich and just give it all to the poor, right? That it doesn't sound as glamorous as that, right? That would actually take somebody that has to go through the policy, that has to go through the regulations, that actually has to do the work to figure out, okay, how do we make the city more affordable, okay, without promising all these handouts? Again, handouts just, it's easier, right? It's very easy to run on that, to pitch that, rather than serious policy. And that's the problem with this guy.
Went on your website and realized there's a policy proposal that says your plan, and I'm going to quote it for folks, is to shift the tax burden from overtaxed homeowners in the outer boroughs to more expensive homes in richer and whiter neighborhoods. Explain why you are bringing race into your tax proposal.
That is just a description of what we see right now. It's not driven by race. It's more of an assessment of what neighborhoods are being undertaxed versus overtaxed.
So why put it in there? If it's not driven by race, then why say that you're taxing whiter neighborhoods, right? If it's not race driven. Well, it is race driven. That's why you're putting race in there. Because otherwise, a smart politician would not racialize something when it's not necessary to racialize. But see, again, this guy is the same type of toxic that Jasmine Crockett is, right? And again, it's no surprise that Democrats don't want to be associated with this guy, that they're backing away from this guy. They say, nah, I'm good on him. It's the same reason why they say they're good on Jasmine Crockett. And I did a video about this yesterday. The reason why is because this type of racialized identity politics is not something that can appeal to the broad voter base of the United States of America, okay? But it does appeal to the far left lunatics, right? It appeals to them, but it doesn't appeal to everybody else, to the same people, right? So the only reason that you would racialize a policy like this is because it is being driven by race, one, or, again, you're trying to appeal to extremists. Because otherwise, this doesn't appeal to anybody else, right? When you're out here talking about you're going to be taxing whiter neighborhoods, I mean, who does that appeal to, right, outside of white progressives, okay, who apparently they're signing up to tax themselves out of existence, which I think is really dumb. But, you know, hey, yeah, that's not something that appeals to a broad coalition of individuals, which, again, is why I think that this dude is somebody that Democrats, again, are trying to run away from. They're saying, nah, we don't really want to be associated with them, is because of this type of stuff.
We've seen time and again that this is a property tax system that is inequitable. It's one that actually Eric Adams ran on, saying that he would change in the first 100 days. He's since sought to defend it and lost at every juncture in court.
And I understand you're saying we're simply describing the types of neighborhoods that would see these increase in taxes, and yet by invoking race, do you run the risk of potentially alienating key constituents?
I think I'm just naming things as they are. And ultimately, the thing that motivates me in this is to create a system of fairness. It is not to work backwards from a racial assessment of neighborhoods or our city. Rather, it's to ensure that we actually have an equal playing field. And right now, what we see with the property tax system is one that is overtaxing a number of New Yorkers and undertaxing others, and an inability of political will to resolve that.
So no plans to change that language on your website?
The focus here is to actually ensure a fair property tax system, and that the use of that language is just an assessment of the neighborhood.
All right.
Wow.
You are a self-described democratic socialist. Do you think that billionaires have a right to exist?
I don't think that we should have billionaires because, frankly, it is so much money in a moment of such inequality. And ultimately, what we need more of is equality across our city and across our state and across our country. And I look forward to work with everyone, including billionaires, to make a city that is fairer for all of them.
Well, let me ask you about what Donald Trump, the president of the United States, has had to say. He's had a lot to say about your campaign. He called you a communist. Because he's the president, I want to give you a chance to respond directly to him. How do you respond? Are you a communist?
No, I am not. And I have already had to start to get used to the fact that the president will talk about how I look, how I sound, where I'm from, who I am, ultimately because he wants to distract from what I'm fighting for. And I'm fighting for the very working people that he ran a campaign to empower that he has since then betrayed. And when we talk about my politics, I call myself a democratic socialist in many ways inspired by the words of Dr. King from decades ago, who said, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there has to be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. And as income inequality has declined nationwide, it has increased in New York City. And ultimately, what we need is a city where every single person can thrive.
All right.
Wow. Well, again, to the naive, to the people with not that much life experience who don't pay taxes, right? Who are in college, that sounds great. It sounds amazing. Okay, socialist utopia. But to people who actually have, read about the horrors of socialism, of communism, who have observed what has happened in these little cities that have went in the direction that this guy wants to take New York City in, even further left than it already is right now. We know how much of a disaster that this could be, that it will be if this dude is elected. And I really do think that this race is going to be a referendum on capitalism versus socialism. It's going to be a referendum on the far left and whether or not their ideas can actually appeal to the broad majority of voters. And I just don't believe that to be the case. Okay. And we're going to see, right? We're going to see, because if this dude ends up winning, it's going to be hard for Democrats to distance themselves from him and say that, well, he's not one of us, because ultimately, at the end of the day, the base of the Democrat Party are saying that, yeah, that is who the Democrats are, and that's who they should be if they want to win, at least in a primary. And if this dude wins the New York City general election, I still don't think that's a representation of the country, because, again, New York is a far left city, and it would be a mistake for Democrats to see this dude winning if he does actually win and to think that that's the formula that will help them win. It will be a massive mistake. But again, we're going to see exactly what happens. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.